I would like
Would
to
the
know.
port have a dynamic leasing model up, to incentivize the carriers in port where the more output performance you have, the cheaper it gets to rent it? Because like you change the incentive models, they have no incentives to like improve.
I think
right?
there
And the
is
government's
models like that
responsibility is
already.
to change the
David
incentive
can
model.
probably speak to it specifically, but there is those type of agreements already about
Okay.
throughput. Is the more throughput you're doing, the less you have incentives to move that. So I don't know, David, do you guys have specifics relative to incentivizing marine terminals to moving more containers through on a daily, weekly, monthly?
Yes, so there are volume incentives built into the long-term leases that we have, but I think what you're getting to is something a little different.
Yeah, because this volume went up 20%, whatever, last year,
So-
right? You're going to hit those. Like,
They're going to hit those, right? And they have their their minimum annual guarantees, etc. You're talking about the ports actually playing a more active role in incentivizing efficiencies in different parts
There
of.
has been two dimensions, volume and time.
Right, right. And so we are ready and prepared to take on a more proactive role in gate management, for example. And this is something that we've communicated to the Federal Maritime Commission. Dating back a year ago, we've talked to the Federal Maritime Commission about letting the two ports play a more active role in how the gates are managed in San Pedro Bay. So Pier Pass has been around since 2005 or 2004. WCMATOA, which is, oh my God, the worst acronym ever, West Coast Marine Terminal Operators Agreement, was established in 2004. They established the Pier Pass, and then they had the off-peak program, which everyone viewed was great because it minimized truck idling at a time when that was the focus point. How do we get these truck queues down? And it shifted a bunch of traffic to nighttime hours using a congestion pricing model. So yeah, we have to feed during the day, shift all this traffic to night. But there were always these persistent issues around governance and public accountability, and how do we know the traffic mitigation fee when you increase it is warranted, et cetera, et cetera. The HTA before your time and other stakeholders, especially the shippers, had always complained. And we thought, well, the ports ought to play a more active role. There are very few really publicly accountable entities in the port complex than the two port authorities. That's really it. If there's a problem, you go to the port authority. Whether or not it's our problem to fix, it becomes our problem to fix. But for what is largely a private sector system. In the case of Pier Pass, in the case of gate management, this is something we've said we're willing to take on more responsibility, and have proposed that to the Federal Maritime Commission. I don't know whether the FMC is going to hold public hearings about revisiting long-term gate management, but we, along with a bunch of shippers, have asked that be considered, that they look at the ports taking on more of a role, and how do we make sure that the gate management system in San Pedro Bay is actually delivering public value in terms of efficiency on behalf of the end user, emissions reduction for surrounding communities, and competitiveness in terms of what we need to deliver as an economic engine. So I think there's probably more room for the discussion, and the type of role that you think the Port Authority should play is one that I think we've expressed a willingness to take on.